There's a kind of grief that feels holy, not because the pain is sacred, but because somewhere in the ache, you still know that God is near. But grief has a way of hollowing us out, doesn't it? It leaves behind a silence that feels endless, a space where your prayers echo and your faith wavers. You start to wonder if what you lost will ever be replaced, or if peace will ever feel possible again. I'm Misty Green, and this is the I Lead Misty Blue podcast, where strategy meets soul and faith finds its voice. This is part 6 of our series, Peace in the Storm, Faith in the Uncertainty. If you've missed the first 5 episodes, I invite you to journey back to Job's storm, Joseph's betrayal, Hannah's waiting, the woman with the issue of blood, and the woman caught in adultery. I invite you to go back and listen. Each story reminds us that peace isn't what happens when life gets easier. It's what holds you together when everything seems to be falling apart. And today we'll walk with Mary Magdalene, a woman once tormented, now transformed, and who found peace right in the middle of her grief. Before we meet Mary at the tomb, we first meet Mary in torment. Scripture tells us that Jesus delivered Mary from 7 demons, 7, the number of completion, which means her suffering had totaled. Every part of her life, her mind, her body, her emotions, her actions was marked by torment until Jesus spoke her name. And in that moment, peace entered where darkness once lived. That's the thing about deliverance. When God rescues you, you never forget what it feels like to once be enslaved and now be free. Has there ever been someone in your life who saw you when you lost sight of yourself? Someone whose loyalty, whose love, whose belief in you and your future compelled you to offer that person loyalty and honor in return? That's what Mary felt for Jesus. Her devotion was born from being seen, truly seen, not for what she had done, but for who she could still become. That's why Mary followed Jesus so closely. She wasn't just a bystander, she was a true believer. She traveled with Jesus, she supported his ministry, and she gave from her own means to make Jesus's mission possible. She loved Jesus deeply, not out of romance, but out of gratitude. He had given her back her life, and she was devoted to him for the rest of it because of it. When others ran, Mary stayed. As the crowd mocked and the soldiers struck, she stood at the foot of the cross, watching the one who had saved her, now suffering for her. Mary didn't turn away. She didn't look for a safer place to grieve. She stood in the pain and stayed present because love stays even when it hurts. When the world turned its back, Mary was still there at Jesus's feet, at his death, at his burial. She followed Joseph to the tomb and watched where he was laid. Because when you've been rescued like Mary had been, you don't abandon the one who rescued you, even in death. Then came Saturday, the day between crucifixion and resurrection. The world was still, heaven seemed silent, and grief took the stage. That's the part of the story that we rarely talk about. The day after the loss, when faith felt so fragile and nothing made sense. Mary's heart was broken, but her faith had not vanished. She stayed near the tomb because even when she couldn't see hope, she couldn't leave the last place where she had seen Jesus. That's what faith looks like in grief, staying close to what once brought you peace, even when peace feels impossible to find. Then came the morning. Mary rose before dawn and went to the tomb. The air was cool, the sky, well, it was still dim, and her heart was still aching and heavy with loss. When Mary arrived, the stone had been rolled away. She was confused and she ran to tell the disciples. They came, they saw it, and then what did they do? They left. But Mary, she stayed. Through tears, she bent down and looked inside the tomb, and two angels asked her, "Woman, why are you weeping?" Mary replied, "Because they have taken my Lord, and I don't know where they've taken him." Then she turned around and she saw a man that she thought was the gardener. She asked, "Sir, if you've taken my Lord, tell me where he is." And then, in that moment, he said her name, Mary. That one word changed everything. Grief gave way to recognition and despair gave way to peace, because sometimes peace doesn't come with an answer. It comes with a whisper, a name spoken in the dark by the one who never left. Jesus looked at Mary and said, "Go to my brothers and tell them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." And just like that, the woman who came weeping became the first witness of Jesus' resurrection. She was the first to carry the good news that death had been defeated, that hope was still alive, and that peace and salvation had been won. They called Mary the apostle to the apostles, because the same woman who once carried demons now carried the message of deliverance from the Messiah. That's what grace does. It turns the broken into bearers of good news. Maybe you're walking through your own version of the tomb, a place where something precious has ended, a marriage, a dream job, a friendship, a vision, a chapter of your life that will never look the same again. You've cried, you've prayed, you've wailed, you've fasted, and you've waited. And like Mary, maybe you're wondering, where is God in all of this? Hear this. Even in loss, he still calls your name. It may be a whisper. Even when you can't recognize him through your tears, he is still standing right beside you. Grief is not the absence of faith. It's the place where faith gets real, because peace in grief doesn't mean you stop missing what you lost. It means you learn to rest in the one who never leaves. See, Jesus, he still calls your name in the dark. And when he does, peace will find you again. And maybe, just maybe, someone has been that voice for you, the friend, the mentor, the coworker, the parent, the child, the prayer warrior who called out your name when you'd forgotten who you were, the one who believed in you and your future when you could no longer believe in yourself or in what was ahead. Let their loyalty remind you of Jesus's, because love that stays is proof that peace still lives. Peace isn't what happens when the tears stop falling. It's what steadies you while they still do. It's knowing that love doesn't die and that loss is not the end. It's the doorway to resurrection. Mary Magdalene reminds us that even in grief, peace can still rise. I'm Misty Green, and this has been Peace in Grief, Mary Magdalene's story, part of Peace in the Storm, Faith in the Uncertainty. Pull up a chair and join me next time as we continue this journey through Scripture and the storms of life, learning that peace isn't the end of the storm. It's the evidence that God's been with you through every wave.